What's up? It's David, the Emotional Optimization Coach, and today we're going to be talking about emotional trajectory. So what is emotional trajectory? Where are you headed? Why is this important to know where you're headed if you really want to get what you want? That's why it's important. We'll get into that a little deeper. Recognizing emotional trajectory, realizing that you have to look back if you want to look forward. Then we're going to assess and align, realizing once again that repetition builds momentum. Small adjustments over time get you to where you want. So emotional trajectory, what is it and where are you headed? If you could think of emotional trajectory like a GPS in your vehicle that gets you to the destination that you want to get. In this case, that destination is the feelings that you want to feel repeatedly on a long-term basis. Okay? So trajectory is the desire to be somewhere where we want to end up, right? And where are you headed? Are you headed in the direction that you want to go, or are you headed in a direction you don't want to go? An example of this would be if you're feeling stress and anxiety or feeling overwhelmed, okay? That's a trajectory, okay? It could keep heading in that direction, but do you want that? You could feel confident, peaceful, vibrant, alive, whatever the opposite of stress and anxiety and overwhelm. You can feel like you've got everything handled. It's all good. You're safe, secure. You got this, right? That's another trajectory. But in order to really get where you want to go, you've got to look at where you're headed, okay? Your habits, emotional habits over time are bringing you to a particular destination, whether that destination is stress, anxiety, overwhelm, or whether that is peace, confidence, safety, realizing you got this, okay? So realizing where you are headed, if you keep going on the path that you're going on, are you going to be more stressed, more anxious? Are you going to be burnt out? Well, that's where that trajectory could lead. Can you feel confident, fulfilled, have a happy life with wonderful people around you, having success, having deep relationships with wonderful people around you? Well, that could be another trajectory. But you got to look at, are you getting closer or are you getting further from where you want to be? Do you want to be stressed? Do you want to be anxious? If that's what you want out of life and you're already doing that, fantastic. You're good. You're achieving your goals. You're living your life. You're living your best life, whatever that is for you. If you like being stressed, if you like being anxious, if you like being overwhelmed, cool. You're doing it. But if you don't want that, then you've got to make a change. In order to make a change, you've got to pull it back. You got to slow it down until you can build traction and momentum in a new direction. Okay? Why is emotional trajectory important? Because you've got to know where you're headed to get where you want. If you want a life that is filled with success, happiness, fulfillment, deeper relationships, if you want the good life, you've got to know that's where you want to go. And you got to know if you're headed in that direction. If you're driving blindly trying to get to some destination and you've never been there before, imagine what's going to happen if you just start driving. Okay, well, I think I'll make a left here. I think I'll make a right here. I don't know. I'll do a U-turn. I'll spin some wheelies, burn some Brodies, and drift. Okay, cool. But if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there. Okay, so in order for you to get where you want to go, you've got to know where you're headed. You got to know what your trajectory is. Okay, so old trajectory, stress, pain, anxiety, overwhelm, all that. New trajectory, you want to go to the beach. You want to feel like you're lounging on the sand and soaking up the rays and swimming in the water, or whatever it is that you want to do. You got to know how to get there, and you got to know where you're headed. So how to recognize emotional trajectory. In order to recognize any line, you've got to have 3 points, okay? So 1 point is the future. 1 point is the past. 1 point is where you're at now. If you look back at where you've been, you have multiple data points that you can use to see where you're headed, okay? And your current situation. So if you look back and you're like, okay, I went here and here and here, this happened in my life, this happened in my life, this happened in my life, and that led me to where I'm at today. I was taught this, I was told this, I was always told you're never good enough. You're never gonna amount to anything. You know, you're a worthless use of space on this earth. What I took it to an extreme on purpose. But if you're taught these things, if you're told these things, over time you start to believe them. So even though the person who told you these things may not necessarily be in your life or be constantly in your ear still, the program is, the belief is. Whether it's real or not, whether you truly believe it or not, repetition over time creates the pattern in your brain. So that's what you keep spinning inside of your head, what you keep believing, what you keep going on and on about. The direction that you keep heading yourself in is going on inside of your head. So in order to make any kind of change with that, you've got to look at where that came from and what you want to do about it. So in order to recognize your emotional trajectory, you've got to look back. Then you look forward. Where do I want to be? If I keep doing the things that I've been doing in the past, if I keep the same habit, am I going to get where I want to go? No. But at least you're more clear on that. In order to get clear on that, you look back. So you look back, see where you've been, see what you've been doing, and then you start to make a conscious change, catch these moments that you're reacting in a way you don't want to react, you're feeling a feeling you don't want to feel, and then you dig in. You look at it, you look underneath it, you be present with it, you allow yourself the freedom to dive into it, to really feel the thing that you couldn't feel back then, so you could let it go. You can't let it go if you just keep going, ignoring it, pretending it's not there. That feeling's still going to be there. That program is still going to be there until you learn how to rewire the feeling, rewire the memory, rewire the emotion, rewire the charge that's going on inside of your brain. So what's happening in your mind? This is where we get to assess and align. Anytime that you catch yourself in a feeling, catch yourself in a habit, catch yourself in something that you don't want to be experiencing, take a few moments and just look at it, right? Just be with it without judgment. Okay. It doesn't matter if you get upset. It doesn't matter if you're sad, if you're overwhelmed, if you're frustrated and tears are rolling down your eyes because there's too much to do. That doesn't matter. What matters is acknowledging it. Okay. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling I feel horrible. Okay, well, that's the first step, is realizing there's an issue. Then you can start to do something about it. So if you want to head in the right direction, you've got to look at these habits, these patterns, and these programs inside of your head, realizing once again that repetition builds up momentum. Okay, so if you're headed in a different direction, stress, anxiety, overwhelm, whatever the direction is you don't want to go, you've got plenty of momentum built up over time that's headed you there. Right? That's getting you there. That's built all this momentum over time that's headed there. In order to change that, you got to slow down the vehicle. You got to take your foot off of the gas to stress, off of the gas, off the accelerator, so you're not accelerated to instantly react with anger, with frustration, with sadness, with a hair trigger that somebody's being mean to you. Okay? All of those things are old patterns. Slow it down. And it takes time, right? It takes time to slow this down and to start building a new habit, start building a new direction, right? Look where you want to go, look where you're at, and then look at what you're experiencing. Okay. A lot of this can happen in the background. It doesn't take a lot for your mind to start realizing you want to make a change and you want to do something different. You want to feel something different, and you're willing to look at it. Okay. If you're willing to look at it, your mind's like, oh yeah, so this happened when we were 16. We had this experience where somebody said we weren't good enough at singing. So we stopped singing. We never sang again because somebody said they were tone deaf, right? It's a personal experience. It happened to me. And I decided in that moment that if I'm tone deaf, I will never sing because I don't want to be ridiculed by this person who I thought was protecting me and keeping me safe. Turns out they were insecure and they wanted to be like me. I didn't know this. I was 16, right? But they wanted to be like me. So they said things that would take away what they thought was a threat to them. If I was somebody that everybody wanted to hang out with and could sing better than them, well, then that threatened their position in whatever that structure, the societal structure was. So instead of being like, hey, you know what? You could probably take some lessons and you would get better. You've got a great voice. Do this thing. You'll be amazing. Instead of doing something like that, they took my power away and I let them. Okay. But realizing that's a habit, that's a pattern, that's a program that I had in my head. So what I've done is since then, I have learned how to get on the microphone, how to stand in front of people, how to actually sing, to also, funny little fact, beatbox, a little bit of rapping, but not so much, but doing karaoke. That was my therapy, right? To get up in front of people and sing. These are people that I knew, right? So going and hang out with friends, doing karaoke, having a great time, but I gave myself permission to get over the thing that I've been giving my power away to, an old memory, an old person who's no longer significant in my life, no longer in my ear, but I kept the program going. That was me. So I created a new habit, created a new pattern, created a new program inside of my head that says, you know what, I'm worthy. People do like to hear me. People do enjoy my presence. People do enjoy me being, and people support me, right? Because that was another part of that program was people are jealous. People are insecure. People want what I've got. It doesn't matter to me if they do anymore, but it did then. Okay. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that that was their motive. Now I can more easily discern between people in my life who are genuinely wanting to help and support and just be really normal human beings, right? Like a supportive, honest, authentic individual, and somebody who is jealous, insecure, etc. Because of these types of situations that I went through in my own life, it's easier for me to distinguish and to discern who I want to spend my resources with. My mental, my emotional, my time resources, my financial resources, whoever I want to hang out with, I now have more clarity because of what I've been through and because of the work that I've done around that. Okay. The key is doing the work around it, diving deep. When you catch a moment, when you catch yourself in an old habit, you're like, oh, okay, I don't want to be experiencing that. So let me dive in. Let me take a couple minutes, dive in, feel it, look at where it came from, and then move forward in a different direction. Realize you can take the wheel and drive. Small adjustments over time. When we're driving down the road, we are always constantly making micro adjustments to the wheel. We're not consciously thinking about it, okay? But we're doing that over time. So small adjustments over time, and most of these are going to happen in the background, in your subconscious mind that's way more powerful, that can recognize things way faster than you. But in order to get where you want, you've got to use emotional trajectory. I want to head in this direction, okay? Where am I headed? Where am I going? Okay, then you've got to use momentum. You got to build up momentum to get there. Then in order to build up that momentum, you've got to slow down the old momentum, gain traction in the new direction, in the new habit, in the new feeling, and then build that up over time through repetition. Before you know it, you're headed to the life that you want. You're experiencing the joy of the ride itself. Okay? Next steps for better emotional trajectory and a more authentic, aligned, and fulfilled life. I've got some free resources. I did some meditations that have come from the challenges that a lot of my clients have had. I've worked with thousands of clients all over the world since 2004, and there were some common things that came up, so I created some meditations around that. If you want access to that, reach out to me. Let me know, whether it's in the comments, whether you send me a message, whatever it is. I would love to give that to you, but you got to raise your hand. You got to reach out. You got to let me know that you want it. All right. I want to thank you guys for hanging out with me, but most importantly, for choosing to be here for yourself, to level up your life, your skills, and take everything to a whole new level. I appreciate that more than anything else. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next video.